All of you are probably familiar with the futures market. Probably most, if not all of you, are familiar with a farm and maybe grew up on a farm. This guy did both. He's an expert on the futures market, grew up on a farm with some of the most fabulous experiences that you could ever imagine. This is Scott Irwin. Dr. Irwin is an agricultural economist at the University of Illinois and the author of a book that's becoming very popular called Back to the Futures. And Scott, the book is not an economics book.
No.
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 It's a long way from it.
Yes.
But it's got the most creative aspect of relating shenanigans that you pulled as you were a kid to what's going on in the futures market as it was created and is operating today very successfully. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, I'd always had the idea of wanting to write a book, but like a lot of people say, oh, I'd like to write a book about my life, but then you realize, oh, that'd be so boring. Then the other half of it was, I've spent almost my entire professional life trying to educate people about how the futures markets work. I've taught classes at the university, extension meetings, and I've written about all sorts of research about how the markets work. And really kind of the genesis of what I got really involved in the center of the global debate about speculation and the role in commodity prices in 07, 08. And I just realized the big educational gap that was out there. And so I started kind of rolling around this idea of writing a book that would explain my understanding of how these markets work. They're so typically misunderstood, but I realized I had a huge challenge because you say, here, I'm an economist, Stu, and I'm going to explain to you commodity futures markets. You'll get exactly the same look I get from a lot of my students in my classes. And I knew I would have to have
something to keep people awake.
Exactly.
And that's what you have done with you and your best friend Jack Hunter and all the things that you did. And I must say that the two of you had to keep your guardian angels on overtime all through your growing up years.
Absolutely. I have to own my history on that one, Stu. There's, and I put it out there in living color for the world now. And I was lucky. I had and to survive all that. But I had a best friend growing up. Jack Hunter was his name, and he's really, I like to think of it, he's the star of the book. And, there really wasn't anything too reckless for Jack and I to try as we grew up and we were out kind of the country where you could do things like that. And for good or worse, I had a dad who thought most of that stuff was funny and in not too subtle ways encouraged it.
Well, Dad was a great fan of racing. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of that in your blood. A lot of it courses not only through your life but through the book. And it's a fabulous tale, 21 of those tales, chapter by chapter, about something different that happened in your life all the way from when you were just a kid and got knocked through the air by a soft drink truck going through town, and all the way up till taking care of some cattle late at night down in a ditch that you didn't know if you were going to get out of or not.
Yes, it just seems to be a reoccurring pattern in my life. I don't quite understand how I kind of continuously end up in these crazy, kind of insane situations. It's also a bit of a theme through my professional life. I have a history of people mailing me strange things. So it's just, I decided just to embrace it and to use all of that craziness and organize it in a way that, the stories are on their own, hopefully funny and amusing and entertaining, but they really are all serious there. As a friend of mine, Craig Perrong, at the University of Houston, called it after he read the book. He said, Irwin, those are really market parables. They really do. They function as parables, like that right out of the Bible, that they're not anything to do with the markets, but they illustrate an important aspect of the markets.
That's right. And you don't have to, you're not going to be tested on whether to buy a put or a call. But the people who read this will see why puts and calls are there, how they work, but there's not a lot of graduate school information in here that you would be tested on. But nevertheless, it's just a delightful, quick read on relating one's growing up on the farm all the way to relating how all of these tales relate to the markets, and pulling an iceberg around the lake at Iowa State in front of the the Saudis. That was remarkable. I don't know how you didn't get expelled from school on that. So
Well, I tell that, and that it certainly doesn't put me in a very good light, even at 19. But I've been shown a lot of grace in my life, and I hopefully can repay that forward. But that was a pivotal episode in my life. I could have gone either way, and I had people that saw potential that I don't know how they saw potential, and said, you need to kind of straighten up, and here's something else you could consider. And I kind of listened half.
but you'll want to read it all because it's a nonstop book, and we appreciate the opportunity to visit with Scott about this because it is just delightful. I'm Stu Ellis.